Hey, it's Carl at Slicker Studio again. Doing another product review today. I got some brushes from Amazon. Got a really good deal on these. These are Artify. They said watercolor brushes on Amazon, but here they say watercolor, gouache, acrylic, and oil. Um, and after I've used them a little bit, I understand why they say that. They're a little stiffer than Transon. They say they're synthetic squirrel, but they're not. It doesn't. Well, at least if they're trying to emulate squirrel, they kick the pooch on this because they're very stiff. Like synthetic squirrel, to me, kind of the epitome of that is the Princeton Neptunes. Um, like squirrel, when you bend it to the side, it kind of stays bent to the side. I've got some real squirrel stuff here. This is this is an Escoda squirrel, and you know, real squirrel brushes are soft. Um, they come to a decent point, but they're real soft. They hold a ton of liquid, um, paint, water, that sort of thing. These guys, while they do come to a really nice point, um, they're stiffer. They're definitely, you can tell they're nylon. Um, Even with like the Transons that I had the other day, these guys here, um, they're real fine hairs. I think maybe that's what the difference is. Is these hairs are, or bristles are, I think a little thicker. They're definitely stiffer. This is it's just really soft feeling, and this is kind of pokey. Uh, but they do pretty well. They don't hold a ton of water. Uh, they're like a traditional nylon brush, but man, they come to a great point, and the rigor is actually, gosh, it's almost perfect. It's got a nice sharp point to it. It holds a decent amount. Uh, it's got the same problem that most synthetic brushes have, is it dumps the paint too fast. Um, but it's got a great point to it, and you can get some real nice rigory, rigory lines. The number 4 is very pointed. I actually like this a lot for watercolor. I haven't actually used the half-inch flat yet. They come, it's a set of 12 that they come in. They got a 1-inch flat. This is a 3/4 inch cat's tongue. Um, like an, well, normally like an oval wash, but it too comes to a really nice fine point, and you can get a lot of good detail with that. Uh, and then just a series of rounds from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, all the way up to 7, and all of which have great points. They're shaped really nicely, and then of course it has the rigor. Um, I've only pulled out 5 of them, and washed the gum Arabic off of them, got them softened up for using, so I can test them real quick for you. Uh, $7.64. You can absolutely get away with using these as your only watercolor brushes until you can afford better. And this, I mean, for the price of what you'll pay for one good brush in like Michael's or something, I have Amazon Prime, and I think it was like next day shipment for $7.64. I was a little over $8 with tax here in Texas. Um, but I mean, it's a really good deal. Uh, Artifice, I like a lot of their stuff. I think they do a really good job with their brushes. This last batch that I bought, I'm still kind of the pony hair or whatever they call it. It's a natural hair. Uh, they're pretty good. They're not a Kolinsky by any means, um, but they do okay. They've got their uses. They hold a good bit of water. Um, but again, they were cheap. I've got $100 burger. I don't know, one brush that's $200 or $300, ridiculous price. And then you get brushes like that are just really really cheap. Uh, man, I mean honestly, you can create art with a ball of dog hair on the end of a stick. It's like it's just you get used to That's a really weird analogy. Um, you get used to your tools. You learn to use your tools. This is a piece of what Arches bright white cold press. Decent, really good paper. Probably one of the best in the world. Oh, it was really hot. Sorry, I just brewed that. I just got home. We went and set up a show today, and just got home. And by the time I was done feeding the ducks and the chickens and taking care of the animals, it was shower time, and just kind of sat down, got my tea. Uh, yeah. So let's splash some paint around on these. Let me grab a palette. Yeah, golden. I don't want to use golden core. They behave a little differently than regular watercolor brush. Really bad. That'll work. Daniel Smith. This is my essential 6-color set that I mix the convenience mixes with. Daniel Smith, arguably the best brand in the world. Uh, Top 3, in my opinion, for sure. So let's have a look at, let's try the cat's tongue. One thing I noticed about the cat's tongue, uh, you would think, wow, it's got a bend in it. I don't know if you can see that. It was kind of bent off to the right. It makes no difference, but to me, that's one of the things when I get a brush I check is I spin them and look and see what if the ferrule wobbles this way or that way, and I'll bend them back. But I don't know if I'll be able to bend that or not. I don't really care. It doesn't need to be bent. Um, yeah, see that one's got a little bit of a wobble to it, but oh wow, that bent really easy. That's one thing about cheap brushes. I will say about these, the handles, they feel really lightweight compared to I don't want to say a name brand, but a good quality brush that's got some heft to it. Um, this feels like not great wood. Um, well, I mean, it's lightweight. I don't know how strong it is. I'm not gonna. Well, that's plenty strong. I'm not gonna snap it in half to see how it works, but the paint feels. It's got kind of a matte finish. Um, it feels thin. If that now, and I don't know whether it is or not. It doesn't feel like a high quality brush, but it doesn't feel like the absolute garbage that you get too. Um, you know what I'm talking about, the stuff that just already feels like it's chipping and or doesn't have a finish on it at all. Uh, they're $7.64, and I think they did a great job. All right, so for the cat's tongue, like I say, these don't hold a lot of water. I would think that this was going to hold a lot of water, but it does not really. Just grab something. I mean, I'm one swipe across there, and I'm dry brushing just about. And you can I don't know if you can hear it on the camera, but you can feel and hear the scratchiness using the belly. Yeah, see that? I mean, that was a full dip in the water. So they do not hold a lot of water, but um, that's not a huge deal. It just means more dips when you're trying to do big gradients like that. I should have tried to do a little better on that. I'm going for a I'm going for a gradient. Not super smooth, but we get the idea. So, for the trade-off of not holding a lot of water, for being this size of a brush, look what you can do with it, though. Yeah, it's not a proper mop, but there's not a lot of mops that you can get this level of detail with either. you know, and then go right back to a laying it on real thick like that. So it's a pretty fun brush. I would actually, I would like to play with it a little more. Um, you know, it's always kind of fun to challenge yourself. If I could only have one brush, what would it be? I would imagine my one brush would look a lot something like this. I mean, there's a lot you can do with it. It's very versatile. You got that edge blade there that, you know, you can use that possibly. You got your tip clearly. It's almost like one of those gimmicky, those one stroke things or whatever they call them, those crazy flower petal brushes that you saw in infomercials years ago. And you load it with 3 colors and you only have to make one swipe and you've made a flower petal or something. And it's very similar to that. I never got into the gimmicky thing, so I didn't really ever learn how to do it, but I think that, you know, the potential is there for that. Um, and I think these would work really good with acrylics. Being stiffer, that's one thing I've noticed. I don't like using anything but watercolor for my good watercolor brushes. I've talked about this before. The difference between a synthetic and a natural hair. Um, looking at it, looking at a hair like a mammal hair under a microscope, it's got shapes on it. It's not. Not what the word is I'm looking for, but it almost looks like a bug's leg or something. Um, it's got nooks and crannies where it. Okay, just this is a bristle. This is a natural hair bristle, whereas a synthetic, think of it like a just a solid, like a piece of fishing line. Uh, it's just a piece of plastic. Uh, the paint just rolls off of it. Um, whereas the natural hair, the paint gets caught up in all these little doodads and gewgaws and whatever you call them. And when you touch the brush to the paper, it doesn't like a synthetic brush has these hairs, but as you stand them up vertically, where the paint just flows off in a big blob at the bottom. Um, whereas the natural hair, the paint stays kind of stuck in it. And, you know, obviously you're going to have thousands and thousands of these little hairs in a brush. So when you touch the tip down, it only lets a little bit come off. Whereas this just says, all right, go for it. And it all flows off of there. Now, some of the brush companies, the synthetic brush companies, they've tried like they call these filaments and you know different size filaments, mixing and blending filaments of different sizes together. Curvature, they'll you know they'll curve them to get a point, thinking that it's like you know holding up water. I'm trying to do this, holding up water and instead of just letting it go like with straight filaments. Uh, but like I say in other videos, I haven't seen a synthetic brush yet that can hold a candle to a natural hair brush for controlled flow um, of paint. So once again, with these, if you've got a lot of paint on your brush and you try to do even holding it straight up and down like this, that liquid is just flowing to the tip. And so when I touch it, it looks like it's a nice tip. When I touch it down, it'll dump a lot of paint all at once and leave like a bead there. Whereas a natural bristle, you can get a pretty good line. Actually, this thing's doing pretty good. This number 4 is very impressive. Um, yeah, this is a nice brush. Again, it won't hold a lot. I mean, you get a couple of swoops and you're just dry brushing, but for detail work, that's really nice. Here again, the rigger seems like it holds a lot of paint. As soon as you turn it upright like that, if you're not careful, it'll dump it all out all at once, and then you've got, rigger's supposed to be able to go for miles, doing shift rigging, and that's kind of what it was for, is for doing long runs without having to re-wet. Because as soon as you try to re-wet your brush and continue that line, it doesn't look like a natural flowing line. So yeah, riggers are supposed to hold a ton and let out just a little bit at the very tip. Um, so this doesn't work so great as a rigger, but there's a lot of versatility to it. When you're working small, like what I do a lot of times with the ACEOs, this is a nice kind of brush to have just for sketching. And you can lay it out sideways like that and put a decent amount down. Riggers are kind of fun to play with. So yeah, I'm glad I got this one. I have a lot of riggers, and I have some expensive ones that aren't anywhere near as good as this. Uh, so yeah, I mean that right there is worth the price of the set. That number 4 I really like. The cat's tongue, I would like to play with that some more. Like I say, with acrylics too, um, loading up a couple of different colors and doing flower petals like the one stroke technique. I think it would excel at that. This is the number 6. And again, this doesn't hold a ton of water. Let's change colors here. This is a good way to clean out a palette when you're just splashing color around. Um, so let's see how that does. That's still pretty good. I mean, I got a lot of paint in there, and it was holding its own as far as not letting it bleed off the tip. I gotta say, I'm pretty impressed with these brushes, especially at the price point. Like I say, you could absolutely work through your watercolor career, or at least get it started with these if you didn't know much about brushes. That's a safe bet. Um, anyway, I'm going to use up some of this green because I really would like to have this well emptied so I can put a different color in there. I just don't. It's such a clean green. I don't use a lot of clean greens. So this is the half-inch wash or square tip. So we'll try to. Yeah, see there, I tried to get a knife edge on it, and it just dumped a bead of water there, or a bead of paint. So yeah, there again, doesn't hold a lot. Um, it dumps it too fast, which means it won't last as long in the brush, and it doesn't load a lot up to begin with. With a natural hairbrush, you'd get probably 4 or 5 of these strokes like that out of it. But for acrylics, I think it's going to be great. For any paint that you don't have to worry about it flooding off of the tip, I think it's going to be just fine for that. Actually, this would be probably a really good calligraphy brush too. Oops, wish I hadn't done that. Nah, whatever. Dirty palette. For large calligraphy stuff. Although again, it doesn't hold a lot, so and it dumps it too fast. So there's a lot of paint there and not very much at the bottom. I'm gonna get that cleaned out of there. Yeah, whatever, it'll be fine. So one thing about these little lightweight palettes is you use a good sized brush in them and it just scoots them all over the place. We'll put some sticky stuff on the bottom of that thing or something. Well, it's not impossible. I mean, honestly, for on a 5x7, this is holding a lot of paint. Um, if I was actually trying to do a lot, man, you know what? I might try to do that. I might use just this for a painting. See how detailed I can get when I want to get detailed. For a larger scale drawing, I mean, this can be a versatile tip. Now, I don't know, being as stiff as they are too, I'm not sure how sturdy they're going to be. I'm like, right now, this number four is, comes to a beautiful point, but the more scrubbing I do with it, that sort of thing, it may fray pretty easy. I know that this nylon brush, well, I've had this for a decade. This is just my utility. Any junk that I want to use it in, I don't care. Um, Also, nylon, it's a little softer feeling in those, but it curled out right away as soon as I started using it for scrubbing and things like that. It just kept curling bristles off, so I just kept cutting them off. Still works great for varnishes and things. Um, I use it, gosh, daily. And again, this was also a cheap Chinese thing. I mean, you can see how bent the handle is. Maybe you can see how bent the handle is. It's like twirling a banana. It feels like. Um, but it's a Chinese brush, beat up like crazy, but it's still going strong. Yeah, I think this is probably one of the better deals that I've gotten on brushes over. Well, gosh, I've been buying brushes forever. Nothing wrong with that. Overall, I'm happy with this purchase. Would I buy it again? I would if I didn't already have it, and I didn't already have 7 million other brushes. Um, very happy with the performance. The only thing I think is lacking a little bit is the fact that they don't hold a ton of water. Um, so this is the number six. This is one of the bigger ones, and I got a good paint load. Oh, okay, there it just dumped a little bit, but man, it's definitely not a natural hair control, but it's better than a lot of synthetics. You get really fine lines with that. Cool. So yeah, there you go. Sorry, that didn't really probably need to be a 24-minute video, but I'm still learning. Would I buy them again? Yes, absolutely. Would I recommend them? Absolutely. For new artists even, uh, this is a great way to get started. Much better than a lot of the store brands out there that you can get. Uh, yeah, Royal Langnickel, they put a lot of junk out. Um, Princeton even has some kind of low quality stuff out there. Going into like a Hobby Lobby or a Michaels, it's they have these brush displays that the brush prices are insane. Um, the brushes aren't that good, but people don't know any better. So hopefully, with these kind of reviews, and Amazon being so popular now, to be able to get this level of brush for that price, I mean, this would be a $25 set of brushes in Hobby Lobby or somewhere else like that, uh, and people would still pay it. So even just to have them for a set of junk brushes, you know, cut the handles off, make travel brushes out of them. That's a good use for something like this. Um, like I say, I haven't tried them with acrylics yet or gouache or anything like that, but I'm sure they'll work real well for that because they are stiffer. So, anyways, thanks for hanging in there with me, and we'll see you next time.